Welcome to the Creemore Winos. Real conversations over a glass of wine. Okay. Hi. Welcome back to the Creemore Winos. Excited for us all to be here.
Yes.
I'm your host, Jessica Ridding.
I'm Tammy Millsap.
And I'm Jennifer Hunt.
Welcome back.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, what a
back.
beautiful day it is.
You
Once
sure
again.
Is. Yes, Jen. Let's talk about your
We're all looking at you.
adventure
because-
getting up here today.
Well, so funny because it was a beautiful day. It is a beautiful day. It was snowing this morning and then beautiful blue skies, bluebird day. And as I was coming here, I was driving along and about halfway up your driveway, my car just stalls. And I was like, what is going on? My battery died. Right. So it's right now sitting in the middle of your driveway.
In the middle of the driveway.
We've left for
Yes.
the time being. Yeah. We'll deal with that problem later.
Yeah, that's like a later problem.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like the podcast is more important.
Yeah.
Well,
We're more
and
excited.
to kind of lay out what we're talking about. I mean, I am on a hill, so
It's a very steep
you're
hill. Yep.
kind of in the middle of the hill, but that's okay. You
It's
know,
okay.
whenever
You're safe.
Chris gets home, he will. I mean, we'll
Yeah.
just boost it
Yeah.
and be ready to go.
Well,
It'll
let's
be
hope
okay.
it's that simple. Because
Yes.
I think that's what we're all thinking in our heads.
At least you're not stuck. So
Yes.
Totally.
most
It could be
importantly.
worse. And you know, this is part of living in this beautiful country that we live
That's
in
right.
is that you get stranded sometimes in these gorgeous rolling hills.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you just have to go with the flow. You don't know what's going to happen.
See,
It's
and
true.
that's it.
Right?
Mother Nature. Well, especially because we were going to record earlier this week and we canceled it because
Yes.
of a snowstorm that happened. So yeah, you really just got to roll with it sometimes in these
You
winter
gotta roll.
conditions.
It's true. It's true. We are very used to it.
Yes.
It's true.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And-
So we're in the thick of January.
Yeah.
We've just gotten past all of our holiday celebrations. We are actually, even though we're the winos, we're not drinking wine tonight.
Yes.
So
We're taking a little bit-
cheers.
cheers.
Cheers for different reasons, I
Cheers.
think. It's
Just like a little
sparkling water, a little
yeah.
break. For me in particular, it's not so much that I want to do dry January. I do love the idea of dry January, but I've
Yes.
just been battling this nonstop cold, and I'm just trying to get my health and fitness back on track and finally feeling a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I know it's also the season for kind of all things health and wellness. And we wanted to also talk about you today, Jen, because your journey has not just started in January. It has been
No.
going on for how long?
Almost 2 years, actually. Yeah.
That's
2 years.
impressive.
Yes, my journey. It's so I think for those who don't know me, I've always been a yo-yoer and someone who has gone up, gone down. I've tried every what you call in society a diet or different ways of eating, however way you want to relate to how you approach weight loss. And for me, my weight was never in the way of my confidence or the love for myself. And it never was. And we've talked
We know
about
that
this.
about
We-
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
like we've been friends forever. And so that's never been a challenge for me, but it's all about how you feel and the health of how you feel. And I think what really triggered for me was my daughter when Willow was born. I was already at the heaviest weight I was when I got pregnant. And then when I had her, it just continued to go down in the direction that didn't feel good. And so for me, at the time, again, because I am a confident and I love myself person, it just never was, it's like it wasn't a thing. You all made me feel the most loved and appreciated no matter what size I was. And it's funny because we were looking at pictures of me when we were at the winery when Jess and Krista and I went to the winery.
Yes.
And Jess said to me when I showed her this picture, she's like, I don't even remember you that size.
Yeah.
And that is an indicator right there that it's like we love each other for who we are inside.
Like I didn't see that as in you at
Yeah.
all. Now how much
neither.
you've changed, I look back and I'm like, wow, okay, I can see that you were a little heavier.
Right.
But at the time you were still the same Jen that we know and
Yeah.
love. So it didn't impact what I saw when I looked at you.
Yeah.
I agree. We just loved you you were you, and we didn't. But you're right to go back and look at pictures.
Yeah. But I think
It's
we all
incredible,
do
like,
that. Like, I know
yeah.
I have for sure. You go through phases and you maybe don't realize, and it can start to snowball after a while.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what happens,
Exactly.
do you think? Because I didn't notice. It wasn't like overnight, which I think is what happens when you all of a sudden get to a point where you're like, oh, wait a second, I'm not happy.
Yeah, like what was it? I know when you had Willow, but was there like a point when you're like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
I can't keep going like this. I need to make a change.
Yeah. And so it absolutely just, it didn't happen in one snap. It was a gradual gain. And then to answer that question is when that moment for me, when it was like, I need to do something about this, because it's not about how I feel about it. It is about how I feel about myself from a comfort health perspective, not how I feel about myself mentally in terms of loving myself. And
I think that's a good distinction,
Right.
too, actually, because you were the same, like, happy person. Yeah.
Right. But then it was also like I was fighting something inside of me for a long time that I didn't pay attention to because I was a new mom and that was my priority in life. And then I woke up one day and I realized that I couldn't really breathe properly going up my stairs. My knees were hurting. I was complaining about my knees to our friend Ryan, and it was because of the weight on my knees. And it was something that I just didn't pay attention to. And then one day, our friend Adam was at our house and said, have you ever thought about going to the gym? And this was 2 years ago, the beginning of my journey. And I said, no, like it's an intimidating environment. And that's a whole other topic for another day. I found it to be an intimidating environment. And Adam encouraged me to explore that option. And I never will turn back. It's changed my life. So that was the moment. And then just listening to my body and paying attention to the signs that something isn't healthy, and that ultimately I have my daughter now to think about, and that's also the big motivating factor.
Yeah. And it's hard. Like, you've been there, I've been there, when you're in the newborn phase. Like, it's survival mode.
Another
because
topic.
you don't even know what you're doing. And sometimes you don't put yourself first, which I think we're probably all guilty of as well. And like, thank goodness that you had somebody who kind of maybe recognized that. And I feel guilty that I didn't recognize that maybe you were struggling, because you did seem the happy, confident Jen that we know and love. And so I wasn't aware of it, and I wish I had been, so I could have been a better friend to say, how can we help you?
Because I don't think I talked about it, and you all know me. If something's bugging me, or I'm a communicator, I will share that. I think I didn't know it for myself. Like, I don't think I realized until he said that. And we weren't talking about my weight. It's just, he's a very, like, he just was like, Jen, do something.
Yeah.
And again, he's been friends with me since I was 13 years old. So he felt comfortable to just call a spade. And also because he goes to the gym so often, and his relationship with fitness.
Yes.
So that he just
that.
right.
Very much into that.
And
It's in tune with maybe you realizing what you needed before you did.
Yes.
I think so. And then when I reflect and think about, like, I can't ignore that my knees hurt anymore.
Yeah.
I can't ignore these signs. My body is changing. And then that was a moment where I'm like, if I continue down this road, it's going to be, I was 330 at the time, 330, 350. And then that's where real major health concerns come into play.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then after that, so you're like, okay, the gym, which it is a very daunting place to go.
Especially if you're
It
new
is.
to the gym. Like, I 100% agree with you. That must have taken so much courage.
Yes.
To kind of walk in there not knowing anybody. It can be an intimidating environment. What did that look like?
So, okay, this is a very interesting story. So when Adam gave me that that push, there was a gym that he recommended, Primitive Patterns, and I reached out to the trainer, and right away I made it very clear that I am intimidated. So I was very honest with my feelings and said, this is how I feel. This is why I haven't done it. I'm really scared. And I'm also intimidated, but also like, this is a massive change.
Yeah.
To go to the gym at 40 years old, because that was 2 years ago, and completely changing how you operate in your life after operating for 40 years the way you've been operating. Yeah. This is a massive shift. And so Jake, my trainer, met with me, and they take their business very seriously, where they take on customers and clients that also are serious about their journey and their fitness and all of that.
Right.
I met with them and it was wonderful. He was comfortable. More women worked out there. The stereotype of that was removed for me. I am first guilty of that. I ended up feeling, again, scared to go for your first day. So we set up our first day. I didn't go. I texted and said, I'm not ready. And I didn't go. And then I ignored and ignored and ignored for at least a month. Wow. And that's how scared I was. That's how I was like, am I actually doing this? Is this for me? He then typically said to me, saying, if you're not taking this seriously, you're no longer welcome here.
Wow.
Was that maybe the like kick in the pants that you needed? Because I would say most people would just be done then.
Yes.
So that just shows you how courageous Jenn is, that she was not backing down from a challenge.
Yeah.
Maybe he saw how to get through to you, which was, you know, I'm going to push this girl to rise up to meet this challenge. And you did.
I did. And I get emotional thinking about that moment because he believed in me more than I believed in myself.
Right.
And
which is major. When you're working out with someone and you're with someone and they're taking you through this major and it's a lifestyle change. It's not like it's like changing everything. And it was a huge thing for you. So when you're working out, for him to be like, I believe in you, come. And I think that's what he basically just needed to do. Like, I believe in you. Take my hand, let's go and do this. But if not, then right? Like I think that's what he needed to do for you. And I think that's great.
I agree, and I'm someone that typically when I commit to something, I follow through. I committed in that gym that first day saying I will show up, and I didn't follow through. And I was so disappointed in myself, but I needed Jake to do that. And that was like, no, I'm doing this. Like, it's time. Yeah. And then I did. I won. It's baby steps. And I think this is a whole other podcast of like this to your point, like this monumental, what feels monumental of this lifestyle change is such a big thing for someone who's 330 pounds, who feels very uncomfortable in their skin at this point, not mentally, physically. And then to do that, you need to take baby steps, and it's like, just put your foot in the door, then walk in, then get yourself a glass of water, then go to the bike, and maybe just do one rotation and then two, and just ease into it. And Jake met me where I was at. He didn't pressure me. He took his time. He didn't push me. And you need to find the trainer as well that is compatible, like a therapist, like anything, like a relationship, like your values need to relate. It's like any relationship in the world. And that's same idea with the trainer.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And
100%.
what did those baby steps look like then versus what you are now accomplishing and the progress that you have made? Because we know, as your friend, how much time and effort you have put into it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what did that look like for you in the early days? Was it once a week at the gym and then you progressed?
No.
No.
As soon as it was 3 days a week.
Right off the bat.
Right off the bat.
Right off
3
the bat.
days a week.
But
3
the
days a
work
week.
that you were doing when you went 3 days a week, kind of you
Correct.
eased into it.
Correct.
But you got into the routine of getting up early,
Very
leaving your
early.
house, going
Yes.
3 days a week, which
Correct.
it's all habit too, right? Like getting into the habit of making the time and getting yourself out the door and doing it, and then maybe pushing yourself a little bit more every time you go.
You have to. Getting up in the morning early, to your point, 10 after 6, getting in the car, driving 25 minutes to go to the gym in the snowy, blistery
Yeah,
weather.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's a commitment.
It's a commitment.
That's the first step right there. Just getting up, getting in your car,
getting in
and
the
going.
car. Yeah.
Tammy, that's such a good point.
Because
that
that's
wasn't my first
huge.
baby step.
That is not easy to
was
do.
it. That was it. You're
Especially, you're right, when it's like dark outside and it's freezing cold. And
Yeah.
I
It's the
mean,
last
that
thing
right
you
there
wanna
is the
do.
first step to get up to do that. So the fact that you do that is like huge accomplishment.
Half the battle.
Right?
Yeah.
And then to get there, and you're right, 3 days a week.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. And then where I'm at now is I'm still at 3 days a week, but I've added Pilates into my routine. So now I'm working out 4 days a week. And I was there this
great.
morning. And so now 4 days a week. And I also love to walk and being in nature. And we love to do that. We love our walks. And I try to get a form of exercise as much as I can every single day. But 4 days that I'm committed to a trainer, to a human being, to keep me accountable, because I'm also someone that if I slip the slope, which is, again, I started this with, I'm a yo-yoer. I've lost the weight, I've gained the weight. I've lost the weight, I've gained the weight. And it's because I always was looking for a short-term gain, and it's never been a long-term game for me. This is the first time in my life that I realized that it's all about how you, like, a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
And now I understand
Consistency.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is very true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Jake also, he had helped you with some kind of eating plans. And are you still doing that? Or was that kind of just what you did in the early days, just to kind of learn some habits on how to eat?
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
need to talk about that, because that also entails as part of the lifestyle change. And then, sticking with that is also very difficult
Yes.
if you're away, if you're...
Yeah.
So, talk about
Yeah.
that, because that's
You're so right. Especially like
just as
coming out of
important
the holidays.
as
yeah.
exercise.
Planning and executing on your plan.
Yes.
It's exactly that. In order for you to live a healthy, well-balanced lifestyle, it is about planning. You have to plan. We've all been in those moments where you didn't plan, and you're rushing, you're hustling, and you just go through that drive-through because it's easy and it's convenient, because you didn't plan to pack your healthy snacks before you got onto the road to Toronto. And so planning is completely, utterly critical in success in your healthy journey for longevity, without a doubt. That is another shift in how you operate as a human being, another shift in your lifestyle change. It is not easy, but what I can say is, and this is where I hope, like, I was 40 years old, and if you feel, whoever is in this scenario, like, you can make this change. It is possible, and it's never too late. Because I feel 2 years later like a whole new person. I'm like getting emotional about this because it's like,
We're so proud of you.
It's because I feel like I can get on the floor with my daughter and play with her, and I feel like I can go skiing and not have to stop halfway and on the hill, because that happened because I couldn't get down because I was so out of shape. So it is a commitment.
Yeah.
It is a commitment, and you need to plan, and you need to get out of bed and get your running shoes on. It is not easy.
No.
And I am blessed that I have all of you as my support. And so that's a big part of it, for sure. Yeah.
But Jen, we are so proud of you, because we know how hard you work, and we know what it all entails for you. And
No, it's so impressive. You should be so proud of yourself too. So recap for us, 2 years later, you started at 3:30.
Yeah.
So do you mind sharing where you're at now?
course.
Because I think that really speaks to how much work and effort and time you've put into it.
And honestly, like the turtle wins the race. Like that,
Yeah.
going back to the basics
That's
of what we
something-
teach our
yes.
children.
Yeah.
That is so true, that these short term is not working, because I've lived it and I've been there, and the turtle wins the race. And so I have never been in this position before in my life, where I have kept the weight off for over 2 years.
That's amazing.
I started at 330. Year 2, I started the year off at 260, and today I start the year off at 219.
Wow.
And
That's incredible.
it's what Jake would say, a
Incredible.
healthy
Yeah.
weight loss.
Yes. Because it's not too fast. It's little bits at a time. You're making progress.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
And you know what else I will say that I'm so impressed by is that when you have had times where you've been on a trip or it's the holidays and maybe you haven't completely stuck to it, you have been very kind to yourself by saying, it's okay because I'm
Yes.
going to get back into it. And you haven't let that deter you from continuing to slide down a negative slope. You've kind of accepted moderation, like I'm going to let myself have this and I'm going to let myself have a little wiggle room on my consistent workout diet regime, but like not beat yourself up about it and get right back to it the next week.
Bravo.
And I think that has been the most amazing thing, because that's hard to do.
That
Like
is very hard, because I think we're all hard on ourselves when we go
Yeah.
away on a trip and we're like, oh my goodness,
know.
we completely went off. But then you're right. Like you are like, I'm going to get back to it. And you do. You
do.
get
You
back
do.
to it.
I do.
Yeah.
Which the old Jen wouldn't have done that. I would have given up. I would have been like, oh, I'm already eating bags of
Yes.
chips. I'm already drinking. I'm already eating desserts, because I am a big sweet tooth. I have a big sweet tooth. So that's a challenge for me. And I also go to therapy. So I think that's a really big
Okay.
part of my journey
yeah.
too, is my
Yeah.
relationship with food. So for me, I overeat, and my portion sizes, which is overeating essentially. And so part of my journey, I think, is important to say that I do have a therapist who helps me through my eating connection
great.
and like
Yep.
how to, like where did this come from? Why am I have this food disorder, that my therapist and I talk about? And so that has been a massive part of my journey, is working my therapist on that. And I think that has helped me understand how to moderate, how to treat my body the way that it needs to be treated and respected. That it's not something that you just is a dumping ground for cheesecake. Even though I love cheesecake, I do eat cheesecake still, by the way. I downed one when we went out for dinner on the last time. It was like a cinnamon cheesecake or something. It was so good. But Jess, you're right, and like I have learned through therapy how to get back on track.
Yeah. And forgive yourself if you have a slip
Forgive
up.
yourself. Yes. Forgiveness.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you mentioned the therapy thing, because I think that that's a really big piece that, maybe people don't realize could help them. But also I think having the support system, like it sounds like Jake really kept you accountable, that you knew if you took some time off or you took the weekend off or whatever, that he was going to be there waiting for you the next week.
Yeah.
And I know from when I've gone through phases of, running or different exercises, or now I'm doing Pilates, like you need that accountability.
Yes.
Like having a partner, a friend, a trainer, whoever, like you need people who are like-minded or in it with you, because it is very easy to turn off the alarm, go back to bed. Spencer, my husband, works out with a group of guys, and he always says mind over mattress. Like you gotta make the decision that you're gonna go get up and do it, and not just, turn back and cuddle under the covers, because it's easy to do that. And it's easy to say, oh, well, I'll get back to it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
It's so true.
I agree. I think, you're lucky you have Jake. I think having people in your life that can be there as a support system makes all the difference.
And I completely agree. And I think the last thing I'll say about is again, because I didn't work out before, this has been 2 years of working out. I didn't realize. I've always walked. I've always gone on walks and hikes and skied. Like I've done those things, but I guess consistently is maybe the word that I'm thinking of, like this consistent regimen of my life. And I didn't realize how it also helps with your mental health. Like I always was a happy person, but this is like when you work out or when you start your day outside or work,
it is like therapy.
It's therapy.
Yes, it does. It makes you feel completely different. You can be down, like sad, you can be tired, you can be, once you do something, it just gives you that little boost of energy for the rest of the day.
I agree. The first day back for school after the holidays, everything was a rush. Everything was, hectic. Where are the lunch bags? Getting the kids at the door when they've slept in. And I had a Pilates class scheduled. And I was like, I feel so frustrated. I know I need to get to this class and I will feel better. And it was like night and day walking out of that class. And you're like, this is exactly what I need. But I feel like you do need to get into that routine to realize what a difference it makes.
That's it.
And Tammy, you are also very active. So what is your workout routine?
I mean, I'm like, Jen, like what you said, like,
you're always doing stuff.
Always trying to do something each day, whether it is just walking the dog or, I'll do like my own yoga session, even if it's like 30 minutes or 20 minutes. I mean, sometimes you don't need like a long workout. You don't need just like a little something just to
sometimes shorter is better because it's the little steps that it doesn't feel overwhelming. That you're like, okay, I did it. And even though it was little, at least I did something, and I will do longer ones.
Just something, right? It can just be any kind of movement, activity.
I think there's this like stereotype that needs to be this grandiose, whatever it is, but like, again, baby steps. Go outside, walk the block. Walk the block. And then the next day, walk the block and maybe half a block. Like, it's just a small baby steps to make yourself feel good. So that's amazing. And then Pilates.
I do Pilates. Yes. We have to.
We love our Pilates.
Always talk about Andrew.
Andrew, One Tiger North.
Yes. We love Andrew.
We should also mention the gym that you go to, though.
Yes. Big shout out to Jake.
Jake and the team there. So there's 3 brothers that own Primitive Patterns, and 2 are twins, and then the other one is a little older. Luke, Jake, and Josh, Primitive Patterns in Collingwood, and they're incredible. And honestly, just like, again, a friend, a parent, a daughter, it's a relationship that you have to really respect and connect with for it to work.
Well, and also this podcast would not be possible without Jake, because not only is he talented in the gym, they also have their own podcast, and he very kindly has helped us with what equipment to get, which we did get the wrong stuff initially. So we had some bumps in the road, which Jake has helped us with.
Yeah.
He's very, very sweet. Very sweet.
Yeah. And so that's my journey. And I think I'll just say, and I said this halfway through, but if you ever feel like you can't, or you're stuck, or that you're at that place where there's no change ahead, I think my message is you can do it. There's time, it's possible, and bite-sized pieces, it would be recommended. Therapy, your social friends, all of the support network, just rally, and it's okay to say that I need your help. As a friend too.
I've seen this quote on Instagram, and I think it applies to your health, your career, but it's, you're never too old, you're never too late. And that can apply to so many different things. And I think that's kind of exactly how you have felt throughout your journey.
I love that.
And we're so proud of you, Jen. Thank you for sharing. I know that.
So proud of you. Thank you for sharing.
It's very vulnerable sharing this journey, because it has been, it's been a journey.
Yeah. And I think thank you, because I have the best of friends, because it helps. Let me tell you. It helps.
Well, we love you, and we are there for you no matter what.
I know.
Yes.
And same.
No matter what. And I do want to give a shout out to Sarah that I work out with. She's
Oh,
a
yeah.
great
Okay.
Sarah Heupel.
Yes.
Good energy because, she's a great female trainer as well.
Yeah.
So
very inspiring, too.
I wanted to just
we ran
give
into
that.
her at dinner the one night, and
yes.
she is very fit.
Yes,
and
very
seems
fit.
like a kind person.
And she's, in her 40s like us, and she's, killing it.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that. But yes,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Jen, because I know
And we'll do
you
some
work
deep
extremely very hard.
Very hard.
Very,
and
very
hard work
hard.
pays off.
Yeah. And I can't wait for us to continue telling our stories, diving into your journeys in different ways, because there's a lot that I know we can share, hopefully, with our listeners that will help inspire, like we talked about earlier on.
Yeah, very so much inspiration.
So much yet
So
to
much
uncover.
inspiration.
I know. Well,
Yes.
thank you for sharing that. We'll leave it on that
Thank
note
you.
because that was a lot to cover in one episode, but we will be back.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.